Schwerer Gustav, meaning Heavy Gustav, was one of the largest artillery pieces ever constructed in human history. Built by Nazi Germany during World War II, it represented a peak in super-heavy weapon engineering. The gun was developed by the Krupp Company, a leading German arms manufacturer, and was named after Gustav Krupp, the head of the company. Designed to destroy heavily fortified targets, Schwerer Gustav was both a marvel of engineering and a symbol of the extremes of military ambition. Conception and purpose. The idea for Schwerer Gustav originated in the late 1930s when Adolf Hitler demanded a weapon capable of breaking through the heavy fortifications of the French Maginot Line. The Maginot Line was a series of strong defensive bunkers built by France along its border with Germany, designed to withstand heavy artillery attacks. To counter this, German military planners wanted a weapon that could fire shells powerful enough to destroy concrete walls up to 7 meters thick and steel armor 1 meter thick. The German arms company Krupp accepted the challenge, beginning design work around 1937. The gun had to combine immense range, precision, and destructive power. After several years of design and testing, the first Schwerer Gustav was completed in 1941, just after Germany had already bypassed the Maginot Line by invading France through Belgium. Technical specifications. Schwerer Gustav was an engineering giant in every sense. Caliber, 800 mm, 31.5 inches. Total weight, approximately 1,350 tons. Barrel length, 32.5 meters, 106 feet. Shell weight, around 7 tons, each shell measured about 4.8 meters long. Maximum range, up to 47 kilometers, 29 miles. Firing rate, 1 shell every 30 to 45 minutes. The gun's ammunition came in 2 main types: a high-explosive shell and an armor-piercing shell. The high-explosive shells could penetrate up to 7 meters of reinforced concrete, while the armor-piercing shells could go through thick steel armor. Each shell required massive amounts of gunpowder, and firing the weapon created a shockwave powerful enough to shatter windows miles away. Mobility and transportation. Because of its enormous size, Schwerer Gustav could not be transported like a normal weapon. It had to be assembled and disassembled in parts. The gun was transported by rail on 25 to 40 specialized flatbed railway cars. When it reached its destination, it had to be mounted on a custom-built double railway track to provide stability and balance. Building the gun's firing position required days of preparation. Around 2,500 men were needed to assemble and prepare the weapon for combat. Special cranes were used to put together its components, and engineers had to construct reinforced railway lines to handle its immense weight. Combat use. Despite its impressive design, Schwerer Gustav was used in combat only a few times. Its most famous deployment occurred during the siege of Sevastopol in 1942, when German forces attacked the heavily fortified Soviet naval base in Crimea. The weapon was positioned several kilometers away from the city and began shelling the Soviet defenses. During this operation, Schwerer Gustav fired around 48 shells, destroying several key bunkers, ammunition depots, and coastal batteries. The gun's shells reportedly penetrated deep into underground fortifications, causing massive explosions. One shell is said to have demolished an ammunition depot buried 30 meters below ground. However, the gun's slow rate of fire and immense logistical requirements made it impractical for extended use. Limitations and challenges. While Schwerer Gustav was a technical marvel, it suffered from numerous practical problems. Mobility issues. The gun's size made it extremely difficult to transport and set up. Vulnerability. It required days to assemble and could not move quickly, making it an easy target for enemy air attacks. Maintenance problems. The barrel wore out quickly after firing only about 300 rounds, and replacing it took weeks. High cost and resources. The gun's construction, transportation, and operation consumed huge resources that could have been used for smaller, more efficient weapons. As air power became more dominant during the war, such massive guns became obsolete. Bombers could easily deliver destruction to the same targets without the need for huge artillery. Fate and legacy. After the siege of Sevastopol, Schwerer Gustav saw little further use. It was later moved to various locations for possible use against other fortifications, but it was never fired again in battle. In 1945, as Allied forces advanced into Germany, the German army destroyed the gun to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. A second gun, known as Dora, was also built and deployed but used even less frequently. Parts of these massive weapons were discovered by Allied troops after the war, but neither survived intact. Historical significance. Schwerer Gustav remains one of the most extraordinary weapons ever created. It demonstrated the extremes of wartime engineering and the lengths nations would go to in pursuit of military superiority. However, it also highlighted the limitations of such super-heavy weapons in modern warfare. The gun's legacy is one of fascination and futility, a reminder that sheer size and power do not always translate into military effectiveness. Today, Schwerer Gustav symbolizes the technological ambition of Nazi Germany, representing both human ingenuity and the wasteful excesses of total war. In conclusion, Schwerer Gustav was a gigantic railway gun that captured the imagination of military engineers and historians alike. Although it achieved limited success in combat, it remains a symbol of the industrial and technological power of World War II. The weapon's story reflects both the brilliance and the impracticality of massive war machines, serving as a historical testament to an era when nations sought to turn science and engineering into instruments of destruction.